Ladies and gentlemen, there's a truth that every woman needs to know. That when she prays, she taps into an incredible source of power, strength, and protection. Prayer isn't just a ritual or a habit. It's a lifeline. It's a direct connection with the Creator, a shield that surrounds her, and a force that strengthens her. When a woman chooses to pray, she invites God into every part of her life, allowing Him to lead, guide, and protect her through all that life throws at her. And while in lady, prayer isn't just about asking for help. It's about establishing a deep personal relationship with God, one that goes beyond the surface and reaches the very depths of the soul. When a woman prays, she dons a spiritual armor that no weapon can pierce. Life's battles come in many forms: stress, heartbreak, uncertainty, loss, or even the pressure of everyday life. But in prayer, she is fortified. She doesn't face these challenges alone. God stands with her, offering her the courage to press on, the wisdom to make wise choices, and the resilience to rise each time she falls. The strength she gains through prayer allows her to stand firm, face adversity with grace, and navigate difficult circumstances with unshakable peace. God promises to shield those who seek Him. The woman who prays is protected, not from hardship, but through it. God's protection doesn't mean there won't be storms. It means that no matter how fierce the winds may blow, His covering will be upon her. She can face the unknown with confidence, knowing that God will guide her steps and keep her safe in His hands. Prayer becomes her constant reminder that she is not alone. With God's shield over her, she can take on any challenge, knowing that His presence goes before her and follows behind her. But it's not just about protection. Prayer builds a relationship with God. It's in those quiet moments when she speaks to Him that she begins to hear His voice clearly, guiding her, comforting her, and molding her into the woman He created her to be. Through prayer, she moves from relying on her own strength to trusting in His. She surrenders her worries, her dreams, and her fears to God, knowing that His plans for her are greater than anything she could ever imagine. The more she prays, the deeper her faith becomes, and the more she learns to trust in His will. And here's the thing, a praying woman doesn't just protect herself, she affects the world around her. Her prayers impact her family, her community, and those who cross her path. When she prays, she becomes an intercessor, a bridge between heaven and earth. She stands in the gap for those she loves, lifting them up to God in prayer, believing that God hears and answers. Her prayers become a source of grace, strength, and peace for those around her. There's power in the prayers of a woman who believes in the God she serves. Finally, life will test her, no doubt about it, but through prayer, she gains the strength to overcome. God doesn't promise an easy road, but He does promise His presence every step of the way. When the storms of life come, she won't be overwhelmed. With God's shield around her, she will stand strong. She will rise above the noise, the doubts, and the challenges. Through prayer, she finds her strength. And with that strength, she can face anything that comes her way. So to every woman who prays, remember this: you are shielded, you are protected, and through your prayers, you are empowered to rise above it all. God is with you, guiding you, and guarding you every single step of the way. Keep praying, keep trusting, and keep believing, because with God, you can overcome anything. Prayer is not just a simple act of speaking to God. It is a powerful declaration of faith and a profound connection to the Creator. When a woman prays, she opens her heart and soul to God, inviting Him into every part of her life. It's a moment of surrender where she acknowledges that she cannot do everything on her own, but that God's presence, His wisdom, and His power are what she needs to move forward. This prayer is not about the words she speaks, but the depth of her heart and the trust she places in God's ability to intervene. It's a dialogue, not a monologue, a sacred space where she listens as much as she speaks, allowing God to guide her thoughts, direct her steps, and fill her with peace. Through prayer, she comes to understand that she doesn't need to face life's challenges alone. No matter how daunting the situation or overwhelming the burden, prayer reminds her that God is there, listening, loving, and ready to respond. In this sacred conversation, She doesn't just seek God's help, she seeks his presence. Prayer becomes the place where she is reminded of her identity in him, where her faith is strengthened and where her spirit is renewed. It is through prayer that she finds a deep, unwavering strength, knowing that as she speaks to God, he is working in ways beyond her understanding. The beauty of prayer lies in its simplicity and power. It's not about being perfect or having the right words. It's about opening her heart, being vulnerable before God, and trusting that he will meet her exactly where she is. Prayer is where she finds the courage to face the unknown, the wisdom to make tough decisions, and the peace to surrender her fears. Each time she prays, she connects with the God who knows her intimately and loves her unconditionally. And in that moment, she is reminded that nothing is impossible when she leans into his strength. Prayer becomes her anchor, keeping her grounded, focused, and resilient no matter what life may throw her way. When a woman prays, she is not simply speaking words into the air. She is preparing herself spiritually for the battles of life. Prayer acts as a form of spiritual armor, a defense that shields her from the harsh realities of the world. Life often throws challenges that are bigger than we can handle on our own. Emotional struggles, physical pain, or spiritual warfare that may leave us feeling vulnerable. But through prayer, a woman is reminded that she is not alone in these struggles. She is equipped with the strength that only God can provide, a strength that comes from being in constant communication with him. The power of prayer is like a protective covering that surrounds her heart, mind, and spirit, giving her the courage to stand firm in the face of adversity. When she prays, she strengthens her inner resolve and builds up her faith, knowing that she has a source of strength greater than herself. Prayer prepares her to meet the world head on, knowing that no matter how difficult the situation, God's protection will cover her. The shield she gains through prayer isn't just a passive defense, it's an active force. It strengthens her in her weaknesses, gives her clarity in moments of confusion, and brings peace to her heart in the midst of chaos. As she goes through each day, prayer becomes her armor, a tool she uses to remain focused and anchored in her purpose, despite any distractions or difficulties that may arise. Furthermore, this spiritual armor helps a woman to discern between her own emotions and the divine guidance she receives through prayer. Life can be overwhelming, and it's easy to get caught up in fear, anxiety, or doubt. But through prayer, she is reminded of God's promises and her identity in him. She begins to see the obstacles in her path as opportunities for growth and transformation, rather than insurmountable barriers. This armor is not just about protection from external forces, but also about guarding her heart and mind from negativity, self-doubt, and the lies that can creep into her thoughts. Through prayer, she finds the strength to face challenges with confidence and grace, knowing that God is always by her side, equipping her with the tools she needs to overcome. When a woman prays, she taps into God's promise of divine protection and guidance, something that transcends the challenges and difficulties she may face. Prayer is not just a request for help in times of need, but a proactive step in inviting God's intervention in every area of her life. It is through prayer that she gains the assurance that God's protection is always around her, that he is watching over her, and that his presence goes before her. In a world full of uncertainty where the future may feel unknown or overwhelming, prayer reminds her that she is never alone. God's shield doesn't promise a life free of trouble, but it guarantees his presence and guidance in every circumstance. God's protection is not limited to physical safety alone. It encompasses emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being as well. When a woman faces personal struggles or battles against inner turmoil, prayer opens the door for God to protect her heart from becoming hardened or bitter. In moments of confusion or fear, she can find clarity through prayer, trusting that God's wisdom will guide her decisions. The peace she gains in prayer serves as a shield against anxiety, allowing her to stand firm even when the storms of life rage around her. It is through God's protective guidance that she is able to navigate the complexities of life with a steady heart, unshaken by the trials that may come her way. Moreover, God's guidance through prayer helps a woman discern the right path in the midst of life's choices. The decisions she faces may not always be clear, and she may be tempted to rely on her own understanding, but prayer invites God's wisdom into her decision-making process. It's in those quiet moments of prayer that she's able to hear the still, small voice of God leading her in the right direction. Prayer becomes the means by which she surrenders her plans and opens her heart to His will, trusting that His direction is always for her good. Through prayer, a woman not only finds protection from external challenges, but also the inner peace that comes from knowing she is following the path God has set before her. When a woman prays, she is not just seeking answers or relief, but she is deepening her relationship with God. Prayer is the foundation of an intimate connection with the Creator, where she can share her heart, her fears, her joys, and her desires. It's through prayer that she comes to understand more of who God is, and more importantly, who she is in Him. This relationship isn't built on mere ritual or obligation. It's built on genuine communication and trust. In prayer, she opens herself up to God, laying bare her hopes, struggles, and dreams, knowing that He sees her, understands her, and loves her unconditionally. As she pours out her heart to God, she also becomes more attuned to His voice, learning to discern His guidance and His will for her life. The more she prays, the deeper her faith becomes, as each conversation with God strengthens her trust in His plans. Prayer is not about getting everything right or having the perfect words to say. It's about a willingness to come before God just as she is, knowing that He meets her in her honesty and vulnerability. Through prayer, she learns to rely on God for strength, wisdom, and peace, shifting her dependency from herself or others to a complete trust in His power. The more she invites God into her life through prayer, the more her relationship with Him grows. She becomes more aware of His presence, and the more she experiences His love and guidance, the more confident she becomes in her ability to face whatever comes her way. This relationship with God through prayer also transforms her heart. The more time she spends in His presence, the more her desires align with His. In prayer, God refines her character, helping her to grow in patience, humility, kindness, and forgiveness. Her relationship with God becomes a living, breathing thing that shapes who she is and how she interacts with the world around her. Through prayer, a woman finds herself not only seeking God's guidance, but also becoming more like Him, reflecting His love and grace in her everyday actions. This deep connection with God empowers her to live with purpose and intentionality, knowing that she is walking in alignment with His will and that He is with her every step of the way. In the end, prayer is the key that opens the door to divine protection, strength, and guidance for every woman who chooses to seek God. It is through prayer that she builds a relationship with her Creator, draws closer to His will, and finds the strength to overcome any challenge life presents. Prayer becomes the shield that guards her heart and mind, the armor that prepares her to face battles with courage, and the light that leads her through darkness. When a woman prays, she invites God's presence into every corner of her life, trusting that He will provide protection, wisdom, and peace. And as she continues to walk with Him in prayer, she becomes more resilient, more confident, and more aligned with the purpose He has for her. So let every woman remember, God shields the one who prays, and through Him she will always be empowered to face the storms and rise above them with unwavering faith.